Hi everyone, thanks for coming back to another episode of Declan's Autism Journey podcast. I'm really excited you're here. Today I want to focus on our stem cell infusion that we did for Declan on April 3rd. We are a month out, and it's taken me a while to do this because it was so much more emotional than I expected it to be. Every time I find something new for Declan that I want to try, and I stand behind everything we have done for him, including stem cells, I'm so strong and so tough going into it when I'm signing the papers and making the decision to do it. And then, I get in that room with him and I kind of just fall apart. And it's just so hard at times. You're making these decisions for your child that no one can tell you if it's right or wrong. You just have to do it. You have to trust your gut. And you have to be okay with what you're doing. And that's just hard sometimes. Even though I think I'm so strong and so tough, sometimes I'm just a pile of mush. But I want to start by talking about the actual process and procedure. We treated with Dr. Eric Weiss, who's out of Jacksonville, Florida, and he has an adult child on the spectrum, and he and his wife saw really incredible strides in their child when they had him go through stem cell treatment. And so he got trained in it, which I just think is so amazing, and is now offering it to others. So we decided to do it. I heard him on a podcast, and of course, our belief, my husband and I believe that if it's nothing that will hurt Declan and there's potential that it will help him, even if there's no guarantees, we can afford to do it, we are going to do it. And so we did. We decided to do it. We started this year not even knowing that this was an option. And now here we are 1 month post-infusion. Many of the benefits that folks see are increased eye contact, engagement, words sometimes, or at least, continued progress. Seems like there is very little research that indicates any negatives that come out of this. And so again, of course, we were like, well, we have to do it. And so we did. As we were making the choice, it's very, very expensive. The research indicates that you can see changes in your child, positive changes in your child, anywhere from immediately to 6 months out. And, we haven't seen anything immediate. We do feel like we continue to see positive changes in Declan on a regular basis. But that again is also, we are doing the umbilical method, and we are so committed to that, that has not changed. And so the progress that Declan is making, it's really difficult to discern whether it's related to stem cells or the umbilical method, or maybe a combo. The one big change that we have seen in Declan is with rapid prompting method, which is where he uses a letter board to communicate with us. I started this, Dr. Malillo introduced this to us back in June of last year, and Declan blew us away. He can spell, he can read, he can do all these amazing things. And the RPM specialist that we work with at Dr. M's office is just amazing, and we just love her so much. But I always felt like I could not get as much of a response out of Declan. And because of all the time commitments and things we do with him with the umbilical method and work and our other children and everything else that we have going on, I kind of would do it sporadically. I wasn't consistent. And I also felt like he wasn't really showing me that he was responding, even though with Nancy at Dr. M's office, he would spell out these crazy things and communicate so much to us. I didn't feel I was getting it at home. And so I kind of just, again, did it sporadically. And since the stem cells, I will say that he is communicating consistently. He is spelling out so many things. Like, I am truly communicating with him. And I have said that before, but I always felt like I needed Nancy. And then I was communicating via Nancy with Declan. And now I feel like mom and son are communicating, just the two of us. And it's literally, prayers are being answered. I'm blown away by this. But just to go back and say, I want to talk about the actual process of the stem cell infusion. It was very simple. So we arrived at Dr. Weiss's office. He recommends sedation for this age because it is an IV. I 100% agreed with that, as did my husband. Declan has a very difficult time at the dentist, getting a haircut, let alone having an IV in his little body. I mean, that's just the thought of it. I was like, we would never be able to do it without sedation. So we agreed to that. And they were so kind and welcoming, very much like Dr. Malolo's office, so understanding. As we were coming in, another family was just wrapping up with a little one who was probably younger than Declan. And, it's just really this excitement and this energy and this hope. And so we go into a room and, we just answer a couple questions. We talked to Dr. Weiss. We asked any questions if we had them. And then we really just got started. Tim took my other two kiddos out, and Deck and I just stayed in the room together. And they just, we stayed in his clothes. He didn't even have to get undressed. Like, nothing was different. They gave him a little shot for his sedation, and he really just went to sleep. And in my arms. And I think that's kind of where the emotions also started to come into play. You're holding your child and you're putting him through this, and it's just a leap of faith. Again, no one can tell you if it's right or wrong, but you as mom and dad are making that choice. Anyhow, he was asleep. They started the IV. The nurses were so kind. At this point, I think I'm like ugly crying, like just sobbing. Deck is asleep. I've got his little hand up to my face. And it's these times where I'm like, I just hate autism. I do, I hate it. During these times, because I am putting my 5-year-old through another thing. And that is just really hard. It's the right choice. Tim and I both stand behind it. We would do it again. We probably will do it again, in October or November, but it doesn't take away the fact that it is really difficult. And I wish we didn't have to do that for him, but nonetheless, we do. And so we will always fight, and we will never give up, even though it's hard on us emotionally. That's nothing in comparison to all that we ask for from him. So Dr. Weiss came in, and he lives this, which I think gives him certainly a perspective that is different and unique than other providers. And, he was just so reassuring, so kind, so was his staff. Again, I'm sitting there sobbing, and he's just, touching my shoulder and like, you're doing the right thing, Mom. Like, and it's though he knew exactly what I needed to hear. And he talked a lot about his wife and, their journey. It was just really special. And so I'm so grateful for him and his whole staff. But anyhow, he comes in and, he's like, okay, stem cells are going in. And it was so quick. It was amazing. Deck was asleep. They did give him a little bit of extra anesthesia through the IV. And then gave him the stem cells. Dr. Weiss said sometimes they might flinch, the child might flinch because it's so cold. They have to keep them stored at such a cold level. But Declan didn't. And then they give him a little bit of medication to start waking up. And he did. I mean, it was just like, he was drowsy. It took him a little while to get his legs under him. But he was so peaceful and so calm and really serene and beautiful. I mean, while it was a very emotional day and several days, I feel like after that for me as I was processing what just happened, he was like totally fine. And we tried to actually make it a little bit of a vacation and ended up staying in Amelia Island for a couple days. And I had the hardest time. Everyone else was fine. I had the hardest time. Again, it goes back to, well, as I was saying to a girlfriend who was asking, like, well, tell me what made it so emotional? Like, she just didn't understand, which I get. And I thought it was such a great question. She said, tell me what made it so emotional. Because you're saying it was such a serene, beautiful process, which it was. But yet these emotions just came out of me that I was not anticipating. And I think then that also was like, ew, why am I having these emotions? Like, I don't want to be crying like this, especially not in this office. But the best way I can describe it, and I have had this emotional response when I've done Merck treatment for him, when I first took him to Dr. Malillo's. I mean, I would walk into every treatment and Dr. Jesse would hand me tissues. Like, he was ready. He's like, I got you. Here's your tissues. And then I had it in this. So I have emotional responses at school meetings, everything, anything that comes to Declan when we are making choices for him, just bring out such strong emotions that I literally have no control over. And so the way I described it is it's like in buckets. It's again, every time we're doing this, I think he's 5 and Tim and I are making him do these things. Even though, again, we stand behind it, we believe them to be right. We know they're right. It still hurts your heart to watch him be put to sleep. And then obviously then there's fear related to that, right? Like sedation and all that goes into that. But you're watching him go to sleep and he's surrounded by physicians and nursing staff and who are all so lovely and amazing, but that's just not how we want to spend our time. But yet we're here, right? So we have to face it and we have to make those hard decisions. The other bucket is for me personally, as I navigate really difficult situations and also really happy situations, it just takes me back to missing my parents. My parents were incredible, such an incredible support system. They would have been right there in Jacksonville, Florida with us. It's just another layer of emotions that go into it. And then because of our other 2 kiddos, Tim and I kind of split. And I always go with Declan because, I want to be right there as what's going on. I'm the one who takes him to New York by my choosing. My husband would love to go, but I kind of take control of that stuff. And so I'm just alone again in a room with Declan. And it just feels like it's the 2 of us. And you're just, it's like fighting, just always fighting for him. And that's draining. I would never not fight for him. But, the emotional toll that this journey takes on parents is undeniable. And it is something to be talked about because we're all going through it. I started this podcast really with the goal of giving back to this community and hopefully just sharing our journey with the hope that it helps other people that are just navigating. And so many moms have reached out and said, what I'm saying is everything that they think. And we're all going through this. And so again, because it has felt so isolating in the beginning, and now I'm learning that we all kind of feel the same way, it shouldn't be isolating, right? And so that's really why I share what I share. Declan has been, as I said in the beginning, really communicating through RPM, which is rapid prompting method. And he is saying things that are just so amazing. And he has said amazing things with Nancy in New York. And some are very private and personal that I would keep to myself, but others are, he told me, Mom, you eat too many treats and you need to eat more veggies the other night. And, we just all were laughing. He said, Mom, you're mushy. Dad's my best friend. I love Dad so much. I mean, all such beautiful things he said about Cooper the other day. Cooper is hysterical, Cooper is hilarious. And he's spelling this stuff out and you're just like, he's amazing. He is such a gift. I have so many goals for him. Tim and I have so many goals for him. But I think our biggest is just wanting everyone else to see the value in these kiddos, right? That they are so special. They offer so much. And I think I would not have had the same perspective 2 years ago. It's really partnering with Dr. Malillo and reading Disconnected Kids, listening to his podcast, and it connecting with me so much that it changed my perspective and my outlook on all of this. That does not take away from the hard days. And we've had a few hard days in this house with Declan recently. Normally he is pretty easygoing. The exercises that I do with him, he does typically without too much of a fight. And it has just been a battle the last 2 weeks. And that takes a toll emotionally on everyone, but we're just working through it, right? We do the best we can and we're working through it. But having that perspective and belief, that true belief that he is literally a genius and it is coming out and he's communicating with us. Last night, my husband and my oldest were at a lacrosse practice and I said to Declan, I had put the baby to bed. I said to Declan, okay, it's time for bed. And I had the letterboard and he spelled out, not yet, I need to say goodnight to Dad. Or Dad's not home, I need to say goodnight to Dad. And so I said, okay, let's FaceTime Dad. Is that what you want to do? And he said, yes. We FaceTimed him. He said goodnight to Tim through the letterboard. Tim, of course, said goodnight to him. And, we got off the call and I said, okay, time for bed, potty and brush teeth. And he walked right in the bathroom. Like, there is no doubt in my mind, he is absolutely communicating with me through spelling. And grateful doesn't even begin to say it. He asked me if I would sleep in with him last night. And I said, well, everyone sleeps in their own bed. And he said, sometimes you sleep with Brendan. And I just thought that was so funny. Like, he's so smart and he's just amazing. And all of that is starting to come out. Again, doesn't negate those hard days, but does make them, outside of those hard days, does they make them a little more palatable? Because huge things are happening for him. He tells me now, he spells out, I want to talk. And when I ask him if he believes that he will talk one day, he says yes. And so we are going to keep having the faith. We are going to keep working hard every day. We think that we probably will do stem cells again, maybe in October. They say roughly every 6 months. Now, that is not financially sustainable for us long term because the cost is based on the volume of cells that you're given. And one IV infusion was close to $10,000. And that, again, is just not financially feasible long term. So, we will just see where it goes. We will pivot when we need to pivot. We are taking one day at a time. We're counting our blessings. And we're really just staying focused on not only treatment, but also recognizing and appreciating Declan for the 5-year-old little boy that he is, because that's what he is first and foremost. And that for us can sometimes get lost. You know, I'm so focused on the treatment because I also feel like if I miss a treatment, I'm missing out on progress. I'm not doing my job as his mom. And sometimes I just need to temper that, and I need to listen to Declan, and I need to give him some space. And so I'm really trying hard to do that. That's really hard for me. But you know, every day is a day forward. Again, every day we count those blessings that we are being given, and we are so, so grateful. So I want to end here. You know, this journey is probably pretty indescribable, but yet we're on it. You know, I don't feel alone like I did before, even though I have an amazing husband and partner in this who is right next to me, and we have an incredible family support. You know, between my sister and my husband's family, we just are blessed, and of course our friends as well. All the support we have is we are grateful for all of it. And I'm also grateful for everyone that has reached out and, you know, regarding the podcast and has offered kind, supportive words. You know, this isn't easy for me. I feel I can do it because I know it's helping others, and that's the whole goal of this. And I look forward to hopefully keeping it going. But thank you for your time today. I really appreciate it. And I hope you found this episode informative, related to stem cells, and also just some other emotional things we're going through in this house. Hope you all have a great day. Thanks.